faux gras. Is that even how you say it? I'm a vegan. Faux gras, if I'm wrong. Hi honeys, it's Emmy. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmy. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program, where myself and my team, made up of a doctor and a therapist, help you and coach you one-on-one so that you can lose weight on a plant-based diet. So if you are interested in doing that, make sure you click the link in the down bar. Today I'm talking about intuitive eating. This is a hot topic. Everybody's talking about intuitive eating. Everybody. How about them Red Sox? How about intuitive eating? You know? So today I'm going to be talking about what intuitive eating is and whether or not I support this idea of intuitive eating. And I think you're going to find this really insightful and enlightening, and you'll come away feeling a lot better about how your relationship with food can be. So what is intuitive eating? The idea of intuitive eating first came about in 1995 when a book called Intuitive Eating was published, and the description of the book is as follows. A recovery book for chronic dieters, a whole new way of eating and making peace with food. This book focuses on nurturing your body rather than on the biology of starvation, and encourages natural weight loss, helping you find the weight you were meant to be. Now, this is completely in line with the philosophy that we use in my Slim on Starch program. In my Slim on Starch program, we don't count calories, and we teach you how to get in tune with your body's natural hunger and fullness signals so that you can eat as much as you feel your body needs, not count calories, not restrict your portion sizes, and lose weight. And we've had nearly 200 people in this program do exactly that. So this philosophy is something that I totally am on board with. However, there's a little bit more to the story. If you would have asked me in the Stone Age if I support the idea of intuitive eating, which is just eating as much as you think your body feels, it's not about counting calories, it's just about eating when you're hungry, stopping when you've had enough, and that's pretty much that. If you would have asked me, do I support this? If it were the Stone Age, I would say absolutely, yes. Eat whatever you want, whenever you want, because that is the idea behind intuitive eating. You can eat whatever you want, whenever you want. If it were the Stone Age, I would say absolutely. But in today's day and age, I just can't get behind that, and let me explain why. Like I said, the idea behind intuitive eating is to eat whatever you want, whenever you want. And that doesn't mean like go balls to the wall and just eat 18 pints of ice cream because you can. Come on. You know that's not what I'm saying. But the difference between intuitive eating in the Stone Age and intuitive eating nowadays is the food. Back in the Stone Age, when we had natural foods, we could partake in this natural idea of intuitive eating because every animal in nature, every other animal in nature besides humans, engages in intuitive eating, which is eating when you're hungry and stopping when you've had enough. And when you're eating natural foods, you can partake in that natural behavior. The thing is, in today's day and age, we are not eating natural foods. We are eating unnatural foods. So when you partake in intuitive eating, a natural process, and you eat natural foods, you'll end up at a natural weight. However, when you partake in intuitive eating, a natural process, but you're eating unnatural foods, eating unnatural foods and eating as much as you'd like to eat, you're gonna end up at an unnatural weight. And you know, there's this idea that French women don't get fat. I believe there was a book that came out that was called Why French Women Don't Get Fat, and it was about the idea that French women sort of partake in this intuitive eating, and they're eating very high calorie, high fat foods, lots of cheeses and faux gras. Is that even how you say it? I'm a vegan. Faux gras? My culinary vocabulary extends as far as the word potato, so if I'm wrong. But the reality is that French women actually do get fat, and there was a study posted saying that that was the case. A study found that in 30,000 French subjects, nearly 41% of women over the age of 30 were found to be overweight or obese. And for the males, it was nearing 57%. So that goes to show that about half the French population is overweight because they're practicing intuitive eating on unnatural foods like chocolate, cheeses, and faux gras. So just like any animal in nature, us humans should be able to eat as much as we want, whatever we want, whenever we want, when we are eating natural foods. And that's exactly what we do in the Slim on Starch program, is we get ourselves back to a natural diet that doesn't have any highly processed foods, and we are able to eat as much as we want, whenever we want, and then fall at our natural weight. If we try to practice intuitive eating while eating unnatural foods, which are the highly processed foods, we're gonna run into trouble. And the reason why has to do with the chemical called dopamine. Now, dopamine is a chemical, it's a hormone and a neurotransmitter, but the purpose of dopamine is to motivate us to do things. So we can call dopamine the motivation chemical. Now, when we eat, we release dopamine. The reason why is that eating is something that keeps us alive. And in order to ensure our survival, nature has made it so that when we eat food, we release dopamine, because dopamine motivates us to do something. So then we make the association that eating food is a good thing and that we should keep doing it. So when we eat food, we release dopamine that motivates us to eat more food. How many calories a food has determines how much dopamine we release. The more calories something has, the more likely we are to pack on fat, which will keep us alive if, God forbid, there was a famine. We still have Stone Age brains. Our brains have not changed in the past 100,000 years very much, and for that reason, we still go based on this dopamine. We still eat based on how much dopamine something releases. So foods that are lower in calories release a small amount of dopamine, and foods that are higher in calories release a ton of dopamine. Now, when we eat low-calorie foods, we will get just enough dopamine, and those foods will have just enough calories so that we will end up eating the right amount and we won't become overweight. When we eat these naturally low-calorie foods, which are our natural diet of starches, vegetables, fruits, and legumes, we can practice intuitive eating, because there's no way we're going to eat too much of these natural foods, because nature has made it so that that won't be the case. We are like every other animal in nature. The problem is that we're practicing intuitive eating on these unnaturally calorically dense foods, which is going to release an unnatural amount of dopamine. We're trying to practice intuitive eating on foods that are so high in calories that we are going to release an unnatural amount of dopamine and thus overeat on these foods. So if we just eat as much as we want of these higher calorie foods, our biology takes over and it encourages us to eat more and more and more and more and more. So can intuitive eating work? Yes, absolutely, when you are eating the foods that we are designed to eat. When we're eating a natural diet, we can partake in the natural course of intuitive eating. But when we're eating unnatural foods, unless we want to be at an unnatural weight, we can't partake in the natural course of intuitive eating. We can't just eat as many cookies as we want, because then we're going to eat an entire sleeve of Oreo cookies just because our biology calls for us to do so. Now you might be wondering, what about those people that practice intuitive eating and they just seem to be so good at it? You know, they're these thin people, these dietitians, nutritionists, YouTubers, whatever they are that preach intuitive eating, they seem to be so good at it. And I'm telling you that these people tend to be very hyper conscientious people who are white knuckling it, and they have put an extreme, like, kudos to them, they've put an extreme amount of hard work into their ability to regulate these foods, and they are using a huge amount of mental energy in order to do that. They've done a lot of work and they have focused a ton of their energy on their ability to white knuckle it and really just eat one cookie. And I often find that these people come from a past where there was sort of a ruptured relationship with food, and so they come from a place where they had control over food and it was too much control over food, and now have sort of moved it into a place where they're still controlling their intake, but they're allowing themselves to have the foods that they weren't allowing themselves to have before. And it's taking just an ish load of mental energy. And I'm one for, instead of using all of that mental energy to just have one cookie, I would rather eat foods that give me energy to go do things in life, as opposed to using all the energy that I have to focus on my ability to just have one cookie and then not have any more cookies. So the people that have seemed to master intuitive eating when it comes to eating things like a cookie for dessert I find that that comes from a place where they really are using so much mental energy, and it's not natural. It's not what they're going against their body's biology, which is saying eat all of the cookies, eat all of the cookies, eat all of the cookies. So there's sort of two options here. You can, if you want to be an intuitive eater and you want to intuitively eat cookies, you're gonna have to white knuckle it and use a lot of mental energy to figure out the whole eating thing, and use way more energy than any animal, because we are animals, should be using on food throughout the day. Or you can eat a natural diet with the foods that we are intended to eat, which is the diet that we eat in my program, starches, vegetables, fruits, and legumes, and you are able to actually practice intuitive eating, which is a natural process, and then end up at your natural weight because you are eating natural food. What does this mean for you? The person who says, I don't know what to do when it comes to food. This is all just it's so much going on in my head. It's all I think about is this stupid food thing. And I want to be able to be an intuitive eater. I don't want to count calories anymore. I don't want to restrict my portion sizes. I just want to be able to eat and move on. And if that is what you want, then you absolutely have the ability to adopt intuitive eating and to reap the benefits of it, on the caveat that you are eating natural foods. If you are in the position where you're like, I don't want to think about food anymore, because I find that so many people come to intuitive eating, they become attracted to intuitive eating because they don't want to spend all of their time thinking about food anymore. If that is the route that you want to go, then you are going to want to adopt a natural diet so that you can practice intuitive eating. If you're coming to intuitive eating because you want to be able to eat cookies, then you're going to have to white knuckle it and sort of put a ton of mental energy into figuring out that side of intuitive eating, which really is not intuitive at all, and it goes against your biology. And going against your biology is not intuitive. It's quite unnatural. If you feel that you want some guidance on this and you say, yes, I'm in the position where I want to just stop thinking about food, just be able to eat and move on and not have my entire life surrounded around food, calories, all of that, then you are the perfect candidate for the Slim on Starch program. So you can go ahead and click the link in the down bar so that you can actually be one of those people that just eats and then moves on with life. Do I believe in intuitive eating? When you are eating the right diet, and by the right diet, I don't mean right, wrong, good, bad, yada, yada, yada. Gonna get hate for it. I just mean the diet that is intended for humans. When you're eating the diet that is intended for humans, then you can partake in the natural process of intuitive eating. If you're eating unnatural foods, unfortunately, engaging in that process is going to have you end up at an unnatural weight unless you are white knuckling it, which who wants to do that? So I hope that you honeys enjoyed this video and you found it informative and you are coming away with something that will help you improve your relationship with food, your body, yourself, and your life. I love you honeys, and I'll see you in my next video.